Well, 48 hours later, and I'm as curious as you if this will hold. There was a lot of outer tension on it, so we'll see. So I'm going to loosen this now and we'll watch the crack. Let me zoom right into the crack to see if it changes in any form or fashion. Okay, starting to turn now. Loosen. Let's see if there's any movement there. Okay, can I trust it? Can I trust it? I don't know. Only bollocks. Live on camera, for fuck's sake. There's too much outward pressure on it. So that didn't work. So plan 2, I got a feeling it might require a Frankenstein fix. Going in from the side, bolting into it. I have to think about it. And to add bloody insult to bloody injury, when I was watching the last video, I spotted something up here on the micro camera, and it looks like a hairline crack emitting from that screw hole again. That screw hole did the damage there, and it looks like a hairline crack there. The wood must be, maybe it's dry, maybe it's not strong enough for this, but you can't see on this side because it's got a high gloss. Yeah, well, that's a blessing, and I think it's a blessing, but so I says to Shay, says I, this fix should be a simple fix. But then I saw the other cracks, and then I took the strings off and I noticed everything's loose. Now, that may be an ordinary little thing on a guitar, that these are loose and need to be tightened. But is this head brittle? Is that what's causing it to have little, let me just show you, little hairline fractures? And would, get into focus, hey you, and would tightening up those nuts cause any more hairline fractures? Well, we're going to find out, because the nuts have to be tightened up. I'm turning this around gingerly. The nuts have to be, I'm going to take them off, clean them and tighten them up, but not go crazy. Might do something with that little bit of black up there. Right, okay. It shows you how simple things are not. Okay, goodbye. Right, I was almost going to ask you guys for your suggestions on what to do with this. But I think I see, my temptation was to fill it and do nothing, because that crack's been there for a while, and we'll see, because maybe it'll never be open any further than that. But I think, and I can't see it without this camera, but I think when I manipulate this and stretch it, I see the crack opening up in there. Can I see? I can't see it with my own eyes. Let me put a second pair of glasses on to see if that maybe will help, but I can't see it. Let me look closer. Is it opening? I'm not going to put too much pressure on it. Is it opening and closing? Let me just put some more. I'm going to have to look at this in the viewfinder to see. If that crack is opening and closing, I need to do something with it. I can't just leave it. Right, I needed more light, so I opened the window, but I'm sorry I did, because if you look at that screw, it's got a little crack above it. If you look at that screw, it's got a little crack above it. And if you look at that one, it's starting a crack, and it's got a little tiny hairline there as well, the crack. So those hairline cracks, there's only one thing I can do, and that's thin some super glue and try to bind it a little bit. But it's clear that this wood is, what's that up there? Is that just a chip? It's just a chip. It's clear that this wood is not strong enough, and somebody, when they were putting the screws in, probably put the screws in without drilling first, so they put too much pressure on the wood. Right, I think I have to make a decision. I'm going to thin some super glue down with acetone and soak it in there, yeah, I can feel a little crack just there and there. And then I'm going to fill that, and I'm going to fill that and then try it. It feels a little bit rough there at the edge. No, I think I'm going to have to do more than that. I think I'm going to have to drill a hole about there, through just beside it. It might have to be a fairly long hole, and put a very fine screw that starts screwing about there, and then when I tighten it, it'll pull that in, because I do feel that a bit of a rough edge. So I think before I do anything, I'm going to have to drill the hole. Let me just talk to myself and you. I'm going to have to drill the hole about there. Right, bugger. All the screws I have got the grip right across it. They don't have the head on it. So I'll give you, for an example, here's one here, which I'm not going to use, obviously, but it's got a clear, there's none of the threads on it there, so the threads on this small narrow screw would go there, and then the wood biting into there would pull that in. I think I'd probably have to put tight bond again in, but pull the wood in and glue it, and that might, I think I'd have to stop. I'd have to find a screw that stops there, because I don't want to go any further to there. So the screw would go there, but the part that would not have the thread on it would go there. Right, so I'm going to post this up and ask people for what they would suggest. That crack there, it's almost tempting to do the same thing, but in that direction. But is that I don't know whether I need to do it there, because the pressure's there, and the edge needs to be pulled in there. So I'm going to put it up in line and ask you lot to see what you can come up with, if there's any better ideas. One final thought, which, if I do drill a hole there, where is that? Drill a hole there and go through. I got a feeling that when I tighten this bit of wood might snap off. Because what I'd have to do is drill down there, through there, maybe starting there, and you've only got, if you look at that there, that's only a finest piece of wood there. You put too much pressure between there and there, you might just end up cracking it there, or splitting it there, or splitting it anywhere where the grain is coming down. You put pressure on, unless I put it on from the very top right down, but then I'd have to come through the hole. I'd have to put the bolt or whatever screw I could find right through the head, which means that I'd have to put the tuner on slightly crooked and drill another hole here, and then the tuner would be slitting slightly crooked. Okay, after much rumination, I decided not to do any of the major screw holes or anything like that there. what I have done, which is probably barely hard to see, is I filled the cracks with super glue. You might actually see it on this side. You can see this. No, you can't. But there's some remnants of the super glue. That'll be sanded away. Why is this not focusing? Get into focus. Right, to see some. Why are you behaving badly today? You're an iPhone. iPhones don't do this. Anyway, I've also filled this, and I'm going to sand it, and I'm not going to stain it. Well, maybe I'm not going to stain it. I don't know. This is behaving very badly today. I must have to restart this. But what I'm going to do is ask the owner to monitor that crack or any of the other cracks, and if they get worse, then we'll do the major repair on it. But I don't really want to work on this wood that seems so brittle and make it worse, and that this thing might last for years. Anyway, what I'm going to do is give that a light sand, and then I'm going to smother it in linseed oil and then dry it off. Hopefully that will moisturize the wood a bit, and then I'm going to restart this camera to find out what the feck is going wrong with it. Putting this Ibanez 5-string bass guitar, I've just polished the frets and cleaned the fretboard. I'm not going to scrape the fretboard. Well, I wasn't going to scrape the fretboard until I saw this. Somebody in the past has had a go at scraping the fretboard with a not so sharp Stanley knife or something of the like, and has left those ridges. And I think that's a great opportunity just to point out that if you're going to scrape the fretboard, use a brand new knife, brand new blade every time. So I'm going to scrape, hopefully it won't change the color of the fretboard too much. So I'm just going to scrape the top 5 frets, which seems to be where the damage is. Okay. There's some linseed oil on that, but you can see the scrapes have gone now. It's only for appearance, maybe a little bit of roughness on the fingers, but very, very little. But that'll polish away and make nice. Now, it looks a little bit dusty, but it's not. It's just the linseed oil. There you are. I knew you didn't believe me. So I polished it up a bit. And it'll take another layer of linseed oil on it too. So you can still see shadows, but that's about all. Right, we have some electric problems here. Everything's loose, even the jack socket, so the back's going to have to come off, and we'll see what's inside. I thought we got away with just tightening them up. They're all nice and tight and everything's tight, but when I play the string, fine, right? Volume control, nothing. So, I'll have to open the back up anyway. Okay, it's hunt the broken wire time. And where is it? These two have come off. Front pickup, I'll have to find out where. And I see the resistors come off too. So I'll have to hunt the pickup time to find out where they go. Hunt the wire time to find out where they go. And what do I see back there? But a switch with nothing connected to it. So obviously there's more to this story than what I can see at the moment. There's a black wire as well I found, which has got nothing connected to it. Where is it? Anyway, is that it there? Yeah, I found that black wire as well. So I'll have to figure this out. Actually, one of the things I hate doing is wiring, but I do it. Ibanez 5-string bass. Can't play a 5-string bass for love nor money. I can fiddle on it. Remind me never to buy a black guitar. It's extremely hard to keep clean. And if you can hear the man cutting the grass outside, he's on a ride-on mower and he's making a lot of noise. But we'll try to get through this. Right, I decided to take the coward's way out, some people might say. I decided to repair it cosmetically and the fine cracks I decided to soak with acetone and super glue, and I clamped them very gently together. There's no movement. I put the heads back on again, the tuner heads back on it very gingerly, not overly tightened. And so the reason why I took the coward's way out is, let's see what the problem is. Maybe that crack will never open up again that I've sealed. It may stay permanently sealed like that, so why fix something that's not going to be bad? But also, if it does open up again, then we'll know to do something with it, right? I've also touched up the head and made the head prettier. It's just a rough touch up. Now, when I went to put it all back together and send it back to its mommy, I found out all these were loose. And when I turned them, they completely turned round. And when I opened up the back, I found out they were all broken wires and something was wrong with the inside. So I spent some time rewiring it, but this is a faulty tone switch. But these work fine. Now, I'm not so worried about the faulty tone switch. I don't have one to replace it, because you can adjust the tone with the volumes of these, because there's no slider. So if you go, you just use those as a tone control. So I'll play a note here. You hear the difference between the back pickup and the front pickup, and you can use them as tone control. I can play nothing on a bass except for or what is that, Dragnet or something? But though, listen to those notes. My amp's only a little amp, but listen to the low B. Oh yes. I wrecked my amp doing that. It's a nice little guitar, and it's going back to its daddy or its mommy or whatever it is, and we'll let him play it for a while and see how he gets on with it, and then bring it back again and see how the crack's doing. So say goodbye to it. Bye. Guy's an idiot.